Hello and welcome to Mystic Brew, kind of in the Tartary series, because today's topic is going to be the Amazons. So I have some pictures, and part of this, the direction I'm taking, this has to do with honoring women, the divine feminine especially. And so we're going to look a little bit, and I'm going to, make some commentary, some really beautiful art. This won't be a particularly long one. And especially, one of the reasons I'm making is because, as some people will know, I was with Philip Druzhinin yesterday, and we had a little conversation. Part one of it is already up. And in the wake of that, I've got some new subscribers. So since I haven't put out anything in a week, and that's roughly my schedule, about once a week, I'm putting out something now, and then I'll get back to work on my music. So the Amazon. So let's take my face off, and thank you, Philip. Hope to do more in the future. So I'm going to take my face off the screen and bring this onto it, and then I'm going to go into my so we're starting this off just because there isn't a whole lot of detail here. Who knows if this is, I'm quite sure things like this in history happened. But what we have here is clearly a woman warrior, and we'll see better instances. It's really interesting. She looks a little, well, maybe some of the warriors did dress like that, and this male here, and it's really interesting to see. He's got no clothes on, but he's got a nice long scarf on him. And apparently he's seizing an opportunity. Although she's got a hold of him, and he just got a hold of her, and who knows how this ended up. Okay, what do we got next? So this is from Turkey. Yes, and this is a female warrior. Okay, they rendered her quite grim. This is a pretty good photo, so we can get some good clarity on her. Furrowed brow there, and we just get a chance to see some of the armor plating here, and I shouldn't say armor. What the protective gear. And again, we see, so this is rendered again. This is a more late rendering, and this is in Turkey, but we see that kind of what is now called the Roman styles. We all know the Roman. There certainly were Romans, but the official Roman narrative is weak, if not bogus. And then down here, I guess we have some other depictions. So here we have an Amazon, and she's fighting a male, and she looks like she might be a little bit taller than him, and she has a fallen compatriot down here, and so it goes. Okay, this is I thought this was an interesting rendition, and they certainly made her look formidable. This is a classic. This is Queen Antiope, as they're calling it. Again, what names they give them. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there were different queens of the Amazons, but here we see more of the distinctive headwear that they normally wear. They had usually a crest, like a griffin or a dragon type thing. And it's interesting, we see the ears here, because in another photo, whenever it comes up, it's kind of like you'll see some what I call the elf. But it's a really beautiful rendering, and she's stringing her bow, or preparing her bow. But we'll see over and over that they obviously couldn't, this is not a mythology, and I'll kind of make a little comment about what my understanding is from research, and again, as somebody goes into trance states while they're studying, the whole purpose of trance is to get information. And so I share it without making a big deal of it. I won't say I got this from here and I got this from here. No, it's just all one thing, and it's just sharing. But really, what this is elegant, and you can just see the tone of the muscles and the beautiful proportions and the aesthetics. This is another one. It's called Amazon trousers. I mean, the names people give this, but apparently in this case, now this, I am not even sure that this is an Amazon. It's clearly a woman warrior. I would think this might not be from the tribe of the Amazons, but somebody inspired, or else it's just a different rendition. But clearly the Amazons were inspirational to all aspiring women warriors. And then again, towards the end, I'll comment on probably why women warriors arose. Now here's another rendering on a vase, and it's an Amazon on a horse, and we see a little bit more of the kind of the crested helmet there. But again, she's on horse, and she has the leggings, and this is, I mean, her and even the way this top is, it looks a little more like a Scythian woman. The only reason I kind of stray a little bit from Scythian, and even with the other one with the pants on, is the brown hair. And you know, I don't know that the Scythians didn't have brunettes, but they were kind of known for blonde and red. But just as many populations, you'll find brunettes in you know, all over Scandinavia. But again, this motif to me is a little more Scythian, and then there's some, I forget, there's so many channels I watch now. Keeping them straight is I guess I don't make the effort, because it's all kind of, it's all one big research, and when you know. But anyway, so the Scythians, there was one tale about when some I guess some men went somewhere, and I forget which group it was, but they got the Scythians drunk by leaving them some wine, and waited for them to get drunk, and then killed them all. And the ones who took revenge on and slaughtered the ones who killed their men were the Scythian women. Came down and spanked them real bad. Here's another. What's this one called? Amazon. No, it's written in German. But here again, we do have a rendering, and one of the ways of kind of also telling, I mean, I think a lot of time Amazons will often get misinterpreted for men, because that's one of the things I'm scouring. There was, I guess it was it UAP that put out like an hour long of just visuals last night, and I found it very interesting. There wasn't a whole lot. Certainly wasn't based on Amazons, but in a couple of cases I saw things I said, I think that's an Amazon and not a man. And especially in the Greek times, you know, I mean, most of the men had beards, so a lot of times when it looks, I mean, and you know, the younger men who had, you know, who were obviously, you know, post puberty, but weren't old enough really to sport the full beards of a you know, an adult man. But this is clearly a woman warrior. I don't know how this. Oh, you know, it's funny. I might as well comment on this while I'm here. The name of this is Bad Repair, and it's really it's a very good illustration or demonstration of how poorly we have, you know, and basically how we're not capable of whoever built this stuff. Because if we look, we can, you know, over here, I mean, this is particularly ornate. This is quite lovely, and once again, they really avoid the right angles coming into public space, because right angles have a certain toxicity to them in sacred geometry, kind of binding, and they box you in. There's a whole concept there, and so I mean, look at this. This isn't the greatest thing, but I mean, in every single little recess here, there's a statue. This is, you know, this is really one of the most wonderful examples I've seen. And of course, up here we have the Antiquitech, as we always will find on these kind of buildings, because living without electricity would be barbaric, and barbarians didn't build these buildings. But what we have over here is obviously something happened to one of the sides. And when we look at the repair, now all this down here might also be a modern repair. As we can see, it's been mud flooded. But I mean, so here's what it looked like, and look at the modern repair. I mean, it's not even an attempt. We have lost. I mean, I don't think we've lost our appreciation for aesthetic, or we wouldn't be oohing and ahhing and admiring work like this. But the people who took over from this group, look how, I mean, we start with this, and they call this a repair, and of course with the new, with the L-lights who worship the cube. If what do they do? I mean, look at this building. There is not a hint of cubism anywhere on it, but they've got to put their cubes over here, and no aesthetic. I mean, it's just like concrete laid. I mean, and the top is still there. So I mean, this is this is a bad repair, but it's also a very good example of just how barbaric the controllers are. No aesthetic. I mean, you look, without a comparison, you might go, oh, very smooth. Oh, not very good work. And then no, this is work. This is, this is slop. It's really pathetic. I mean, and then you look over here. If once again, to kind of make my point, you don't see the squaring and the cubing. And the other thing with flat roof, I mean, the beauty is also when you look up at the sky. The sky, you have like these undulations when you look up into the sky. You're not looking at, something that just like kind of squared off. I mean, this over here is a very good example of of kind of modern finishing. That bare straight line. And I'm not sure where this was taken, but as we can see, I mean, down the street we can still see some of the delicious architecture of the not so distant past, the very recent past, as a matter of fact. Anyway, on with the Amazons. So here we have another depiction of a fallen Amazon, and one of her compatriots coming to her aid. There seems to be whoever created this kind of work seemed to exult a bit in the Amazons in distress. I'm quite sure men like this had a little trouble dealing with women warriors. And okay, well, here's another one. Here's an Amazon woman and being chased by a male. And again, he's got his helmet, he's got this, and but they fought naked a lot. Well, they probably lived naked a lot. And he seems to be a young man, or else he's then part of the people we call Romans. If you notice, kept their hair short and were clean-faced, and that has set the tone, and even into the modern day, where a man with a beard or a mustache in business is not common, and of course short hair is absolutely absolutely necessary. And I kind of see the short hair as kind of being what I would call the circumcised male look. And if you notice, when we see, we'll see it in another picture, the old culture, the men didn't wear necessarily like the long hair, kind of like what I have or Martin has, but they didn't wear it as short as the Romans, and we'll see an example of that in another picture. This is a Dahomey. This is clear. This is not an Amazon necessarily as that particular tribe, but it could be an African tribe, because this is Dahomey, so this is Africa, and somebody must have crossed her. And in celebrating women, since there's a woman here. Now this is one of the electric cars. And I think I have another picture also in this collection. But what's interesting is we know that this is DC electricity, because when there was making electricity, the free electricity required a certain amount of management, because you were doing steam, you're doing various things, and also you wanted to control your voltage, just like we do in a modern amplifier. We use all kinds of different resistors and capacitors to smooth out current wobbles, and also to to regulate voltage. You put resistors in a voltage path, and you can drop the voltage. You might you could have 1,000 volts coming out of this, and you only want 300 in there. So in somewhere you would use these dials and dial in the proper resistance that would resist the flow of electricity, so that only some of it went through, and you would get it. But as we can see, this is a DC electric unit. Here's a meter down here, and then of course these dials would allow you to control the various things one might need to control. There's more dials up here, and they would let you know what you're doing. But this is totally tied into free energy. But the free energy needed to be managed well. Okay, what's this? This is the departure of the Amazons. And it's a little bit on the dark side, but here we see what I would consider to be a legitimate look at what at the Amazons. They all wear, this is their headwear, and sometimes I think that's a kind of a tell. I mean, absolutely every one of them has the same headwear. Let me shrink it down again. Now, I wonder if this woman is not wearing a helmet, and she might represent one of the non-warriors, like part of the aristocracy. And again, the aristocracy are nobles, the noble people who kept it all together. They didn't lord over people; they brought the goods. And back here we see, I mean, let's look at the architecture. There's your domes, there's your tower, more domes. And notice that there's the whole lack of cubism. This looks like it might be a more modern building, because we see it's just very, very simple, steep roof, basically built onto a rectangle. Here, but I mean, this is really, I mean, look, these were organized warriors. This is dryad. That's what I named it, because there's a dryad over here. This being here, this female being here, is a tree, and that's what the name of those female spirits who were trees were called, dryads. And there's first of all, so here is an Amazon woman. Okay, there's her hat. So this is an Amazon, and this is, I guess, a little bordering on allegory. Who do we have up here? Well, what's interesting is that's a woman. That's a woman. You're not sure there. Not that it's important, but again, this is there's nobody's throwing any. This is none of throwing any bolts, because this is the old culture was not about war. That's kind of what's interesting is, and Martin's made a good point about the Venetians. Martin Ledke of Flat Earth British. Shout out to that brother. Amazing man, amazing work. Thank you, Martin, for all you do. And but as you could, just kind of an observing, and I would say this might represent the ancestors, those who have passed over, but still watch over us, because that was part of how the pagans lived, how the animists lived. So once again, the word pagan is, I put out a video explaining it, but not everybody watched it. So we'll call it the animists, those who revered the earth and were into, reincarnation wasn't a concept, it was an accepted way that the spirit came in and out of physical life, and the ancestors would continue to be part of our people. And and you know, the modern people would call what they do ancestor worship, but it was just keep, you know, it's just like if you can, if your parents or grandparents died and you can still keep them in the loop because there's still an open channel. Well, I think that's a really kind of a beautiful way of being. So she seems to be chasing some things. Now these almost look like forerunners for her. You know, they're both women. And what's really interesting is this woman here, being kind of coming out of the forest. Now this is her foot here, because this woman here in blue, this is her front foot and this is her back foot. So this foot here belongs to this woman, who's holding a few babies. But when we look at her, and they're exiting the forest, and as we look at her leg that hasn't completely come out of the forest, well, it's kind of like a deer, you know, a four-legged animal, herbivore type. So whether goat, deer, you know, they kind of have, deer have feet like that. And then she's holding, you know, the hand of a child who, the top part of the body is out of the forest and is now morphing into human. But the bottom part, both legs are still kind of like goat legs, if you might want to say. And she seems to be kind of flushing some things out, the dryads. Looking, I'm not, you know, again, I don't quite know what is being told here. And then you have whatever these are. These are actually kind of like cherubims. But down here is some very, I mean, this looks kind of dressed like a nurse. She's got a tether around this very unfortunate looking, you know, form of human. No arms on it. Who knows whether this is just some of the bad genetic experiments we sometimes hear. But this is a centaur. Now centaurs they were the teachers actually. Chiron was a great teacher. Taught Hercules. Over here we have like kind of what looks like a lion-faced woman, again holding a baby with animal bottom parts. And on the back of this centaur is a woman, and of red hair, interesting enough. So this is, and then we have whatever this thing is. And then over here, again, we seem to have some therapeutai type of ladies. And this appears to be a king, because there's a crown. And they seem to be I mean, these appear to be some kind of, I wonder if this is like some kind of healing waters, who knows. But I just thought it was a quite beautiful painting. I really liked it, and I did like the ancestors kind of observing what's going on. This, you know, could have been a former, and we don't see any of the fasces type of thing there. I'm not sure what that is, but you don't see any of the cross strands. Okay. This is an interesting one. Now this is an example of the fine sculpture that was done by them. But when we take a little closer look, I mean, besides a rather enigmatic face and that very kind of roundish face, all right, look at these ears. I mean, I think those are ears there, right? I mean, it could be the way the cloth falls, but it kind of looks almost like those little elf ears. But again, look at that beautiful work. Right. Okay, Mud Flood, you can see Justin Pollock, another guy. He plays the what's known as a hang drum, and that's a metal, it looks like a flying saucer, and it has different notes on it. And when a lot of times he'll make a comment, and then after it he'll play a little bit, and it's really, he does a great job. It's almost like he's making a documentary, and just like a lot of times you watch documentaries, a little music in between scenes. Well, he does it himself in real time. It's pretty great. So here's an electric car, but we can even see it says Cuyahoga Electrics, and this is, you know, obviously in somebody's garage or something. But here we can see all the different implements that are probably one of those really big homes with the massive collectors would have. And I'm quite sure this is just different ways of routing around your electricity. There's probably a good chance that if you didn't need electricity in the room, you might turn it off. It wasn't like the where we are today, where we just electricity is almost like an addiction, as opposed to electricity being like food. When you need it, you have it. When you don't need it, you don't eat all the time. But in the modern world, we do use electricity all the time. I'm using a bunch of it right now. But I mean, just you can see the amount of control that was needed for the DC times. But these were really intelligent people. So this was not a bunch of confusing things. It's oh, I got to flick this one up here. Oh, this dial. Look at this. Oh, let me flick this here. They knew how this worked. Again, these were very, very capable people of the intellect that was given to us by the Creator and has since been falling by the anti-creators. I don't even know why I have this in here. Must be bad editing. So what is this? This is Johann George Platzer, Thalestris well, it's written in German again. So here we have some really interesting things. So like this is a case where a lot of people might mistake this figure here, if they, upon looking at it as a man, but this is clearly a woman, and it looks like she's the queen of the Amazons or whatever. And you can see behind her she has her viziers, her wizard type or her counselor. Matter of fact, look, she has a few of them, but you can kind of tell by the the gray beards. The gray beards are here. I am now, if you can see here, this is a woman. Here's a man. We can't tell who's there. And again, this is a woman. Look at the muscles on them. Okay, these were robust women. But given the helmet, I'm going to guess this is a woman, and this is a woman. And if you notice, the man has his hat's not quite as ornate. And just looking a little bit in here, and she's holding something that you can see the Roman, who we call the Romans, would mimic, but it's not the same motifs. And we have a quiver of arrows here, and an ornate shield, and just look at the beauty of this. And it looks like they're almost coming out of a cave, or this is a grove. Right, this is a grove. And if you recall what they did, this guy might even be a druid, because one of the things the quote-unquote Romans did was cut down the groves, because they were sacred to the people, and the groves were their cathedrals. So anyway, so here we see, and apparently this is a greeting of some sort. So she's greeting this one. And who knows, this might be Pantacelli, who is one of the queens of the Amazons, meeting a non-Amazon queen, but again, she might be, she's wearing her queen stuff instead of her warrior stuff, because she doesn't look like any softy herself. This entity here would look to be like a young man, because there's no beard yet. If you notice, all the men are bearded. All right, this older man here, we're not sure. But generally, beards were the deal. And here we have, well, as you can see, most of these people are quite pale, and the people accompanying her, or the people who, I guess, manage her immediate surroundings, appear to be rather brown-skinned. I would take that this is also a woman. Here's another woman. Here's a man, a woman, woman. Okay, so these are the Amazons. Apparently this queen is greeting the Amazons. The Amazons are paying her a visit. Oh yeah, look at them. Wow, a lot of them back here. And there seems to be a few dismounted ones who are both unarmed, and who knows, these might be some prisoners. But I love this old art. It's really quite beautiful. Over here we have a bunch of disposed weaponry, and here looks to be a fasces, because we can see the sticks and the wrapping. But as you notice, it's not in their hands. It looks to me like this has been confiscated from belligerents and put here out of the belligerent hands. Look at the, I mean, just look at the beauty. Look at this. And it does look, I mean, here are the branches coming out. It looks to me like they've actually erected some fabric within like kind of a sacred grove. Oh, what's going? Oh, okay, I thought it was like a flaming thing, but here, you know, it's a banner coming from her whatever, you know, look at the flagpole. And so on to the next one. This is called Amazonka by Julius Cossack, and who knows, she might have been you know, a modern descendant of what were once the Amazons, or else that's what the painter decided to call this. All right, this is from, it says the Roman Empire, and so here again we see battle between an Amazon and a Roman, what we call the Romans. It seems like there was quite a bit of contention between the Roman and Greek men and the Amazons. Because, and my opinion would be because they represent the parasitic culture, and the Amazons were part of the old culture. So it's a battle between the old and the new. Now this is by Otto von Wien. It's called The Amazons and the Scythians. And I'm not sure, now back here, I would believe that these are might be, because again, they're armed, and we can see there's not a whole lot of, it looks like there's a whole lot of beards there. I'm not, but it's without greater oh yeah, oh, those are men. Okay, those are men. Yeah, you can see mustaches and beards. And over here, yep, more men, so I guess those are the Scythians. Oh, wait a second. They're dressed a little different. Who knows? But over here, if you notice, I guess maybe they're trying to portray these women as the Amazons. And this, to me, this is Phoenician crap. Okay, again, these women are soft. These are not the hard Amazons. These are not, you know, these and again, there's a certain the old culture, or what we call the Tartarians, represented their women with dignity even when there was a sensuality to them, but they never present them as lascivious, where the Phoenicians present them quite lasciviously, because they were a debauched culture, and the old culture was not debauched. The old culture was naturally sensual, as the world is, as the earth is, as animals are, but they were not debauched. Oh, this is one. Now, Penthesilea is the name for one of the probably most famous Amazon queens, and this is by an Arturo Michelena. And I mean, this looks almost like this almost looks like what might have inspired Frank Frazetta. I mean, if anybody's familiar with Frank Frazetta, who was known for his work in Conan and always drew really beautiful, voluptuous women. And the reason I say that is because we've all seen kind of how the Amazons dress. They, you know, they have something on their top, even if their breasts are out, they're not out. And they're athletic women. And athleticism usually kind of, and who knows, they might start really young, and everybody knows, like gymnasts, often their menstruation is kind of delayed until they stop their kind of, you know, very aggressive living. But this over here, this depiction, I mean, this woman is depicted quite voluptuous. And in no other renderings of the Amazons do we see them kind of like Frazetta women. So I'm not. This is not. You know. And again, this is just, you know, a scene of a really nasty battle. And so I don't know where Toro got his idea. And this hardly has the dignity of a queen here. And that's not how they dressed. I mean, they went into war with helmets and stuff. They didn't go out, you know, looking like babes who went out for a fight. Oh, here's another one of Penthesilea. As one of the 9 female worthy. Okay, so the moment you start, you know, having to say, you know, 9 female worthy, you know that the nonsense has begun. The patriarchal nonsense. And also that's one of the reasons why I don't like the word matrix. Matrix implies mother, and I think that's what Hollywood did. They wanted to take the parasitical this parasitical world, which is not a simulation quite the way they make it, but it's certainly imposed and false. But really, what we struggle against is not the matrix. We struggle against the patrix. And the inversion, once again, they invert. So the matrix is really about the patrix, but of course they'll call it the matrix because subliminally they want to, you know, shit and piss on women. Quite simply, they have a hate. That whole cult of you know, the whole Yahweh cult hates women. You know, because, you know, it starts with blame. You can see it in even as what I call the Greek breakout myths, where they actually have Gaia conspiring with her son to overthrow his father. You know, the betrayal of the wife. Ugh. Again, that's, you know, that's just their sickness. They are quite sick. Here's a good rendering of Penthesilea, again, the queen of the Amazons. Again, as you can see, this is a little bit different than the one who had them out there, you know, all babed out. Again, very fit, not voluptuous, properly, you know, adorned the way the warrior women were. Okay, and it just says, you know, interesting rendering. Here's another. This is another one of her, Penthesilea, of Queen of the Amazons, and I think this is really well done. But again, you can see here, it's almost as if like this is a griffin and not just that. Let's take another look back here. You know, there's kind of like an emulation, not just they're using feathers, but it almost looks like it was like you know, like a dragon on their head. The detail there. But most of the accurate renderings, you'll see the same kind of way that they dress. It's almost a little bit like what is called the Roman warrior style. What's this? This is a Battle of the Amazons again. This is a hot mess. I mean, I'm trying to make out what's going on here, but again, I don't find it particularly useful, but I was looking for things related to Amazons, and this came up. Here's another Battle of the Amazons. Let's see what they got here. So here they got here are the Amazons here. You can tell by the helmets. And a lot of times, you know, if you don't really know, because you might think these are just clean-shaven men by the way they comport themselves, but you can see these are women here. There's a woman there. And if you remember the other one where they said, you know, the Amazons and the Scythians, and they had women like this, again, you know, a woman is voluptuous. But these are, you know, regular citizen women. These are the Amazons. Oh, looks like she has a head in her hand over here, a male head. Good for her. Yep, quite a mess. This is, I think, known as a wounded Amazon, but that's what they call it. But again, we get a chance to see the rendering, the robustness of their build, the fact, they're clearly women, but no, not voluptuous. Here's her helmet down here. Oh, this might. Oh yeah, this is good because this looks to me like Penthesilea hair. Now I wish I had a better rendering of it, but this is a screenshot. But to me, this is really good classic. This is of the old culture. Again, it's really interesting how they have the dolphins rendered, and Neptune was one of their primary old kind of Titan type deities. And don't forget, the Titans were imprisoned in Tartarus. But I like the tails kind of form into the caduceus. Remember, the snake to them was a symbol of the ancient wisdom. It was not some kind of sinister thing, which is why that's why this, all that was sacred to the old culture became demonic and fallen, and again, the name calling that goes on starting in Genesis. And what we see, it's interesting to see here. So this is what I was talking about the way they wore their hair. It's not that clear. Okay, the men had beards. They don't have the really long hair like many other tribes, and the Scythians wore theirs in the top knot. But it's not short like the Romans. They got a nice head of hair. It's not like the ears are all exposed. They don't have the circumcised look on their head. Well muscled and at ease. It looks to me like he has a lyre or an instrument. He seems to be holding the equivalent of like a cornucopia of flowers and some water here. And then here's Penthesilea in her garb and her hat. And then in the background we see these are male warriors. At least these two here are male warriors. Not sure about this one over there. But this is a really good example of the ancient architecture. We see the arrows over the anchors over here, and that's because the maritime trade was their power. That's why they were a worldwide culture. The fact that they were trading and also were masters of the seas. The Venetians were also masters of the seas. It looks like to me like they kind of broke somewhere. And the greedy, and then the nobles, and then the nobles kind of stayed together as what I call the old culture. People call them Tartarians, and then the lesser greedy, nasty ones that might have, you get nasties in any group, and all you have to do is have them kind of pair up, and then they can be at war with each other. Usually with the nasties doing the war declaring, because they break with the culture. And what we see is that although the Phoenicians do have very good skill with their sculpture and bronze and marble and other work, it's not to the level of the old culture or Tartarians, and it continues to decline until we have the modern day. And this is what they call the Venus of Willendorf. This is not a Venus. This is a rendition of our Earth Mother, Gaia, Sophia. Sophia would be probably the absolute correct way of saying the word wisdom in Greek, which is Sophia. But Sophia is also a woman's name. So by saying Sophia, not only does it rhyme with Gaia, but it helps us make it, instead of a proper name, to let us know that we're speaking about the Earth Goddess herself. And I never forget that Sophia or Sophia means wisdom. And that's really crucial, that it is about wisdom. We revere wisdom. And of course, there's no, no face is rendered, because you would not put a face on basically a being that is based in plasma, or started out as a part of plasma before she turned herself into the earth and brought us about. I find these things quite beautiful, because it's about abundance. Again, there's just the mass of the earth, and the very full breast, because nature is endlessly abundant. And this is also another thing where I got this is from Philip Druzhinin, and he was mud flood money of U.S. is still missing, and he's right. These are the states, and apparently before the official United States kind of became a corporation, there were regions. There's a website called unz.com, UNZ, and they have a lot about the nations, kind of like, there's Greater Appalachia, which I happen to live in. But if you go towards the coast in Virginia, you get into both Dixie and the Midlands. I mean, there's New France, which stretched from Louisiana up into Quebec. It ran through the middle of the country. But what's really kind of interesting is, once again, now let's look at the render. Here's a picture of George Washington, but this is the reverence of the women of the ancient world, the ones who who bring life into the world. She is an engineer. See the compass in her hand? And so we go, oh, that's Mason. I'm quite sure the Masons enjoyed it, but this is about engineering. She has a hammer in her hand. And in some other, you'll see trowels in their hand. You'll see things that could be ascribed to masonry, but the fact is, the women were not soft. The women were very much a part of the world that they shared with their men and built with their men. Very, very capable women, and there were still, I would hold that it was still very matriarchal, where the women was kind of the center of things, and men were great at what they were great at, but women are always great administrators and managers, and they know what's good for everybody. Here's another kind of close rendition of that other one. Amazon warriors. Looks like her helmet's behind her foot, like in the other case. I guess this is her shield. There's her quiver. This is her bow. And once again, we can see, good, robust, good musculature. Clearly a woman, but not, not buxom. And that was the beginning. So let me kind of come back into the camera. Excuse me. Yeah, so that's the Amazons. And I think the Amazons probably arose because they saw things were changing. Excuse me. There were tribes of very hostile men, and as I kind of look into it, if there's going to be a warrior caste that you don't want getting out of control, that you really want your warrior caste to be an immune system for your society, your organism. So the basic thing is an organism is minding its own business unless something from the outside attacks, and then the organism needs to mount an immune response. I think having a warrior caste of women would kind of ensure that if war happens, it happens as an immune response and not as an aggression. And the world fell apart when we started warring with each other. And the waging war, declaring war on people because you want their land or you don't like the gods they worship, that seems to have been completely male behavior. And so I kind of really think that this huge warrior caste of women was insurance that things stayed defensive. Real capable warriors, serious badass warriors, but only as badass as you made them. If you mind your business, they're not going to be in your business. You come into their business and you find out that they mean business. Okay, I will conclude that there. So thank you to all the new subscribers. I hope this one worked for you. And I'm preparing some other stuff. I kind of enjoy being on a slower pace. I mean, I'm a retired guy. I enjoy just not having a schedule. And I mean, I make appointments. I do occasionally have schedules, but where I don't have schedules, I don't go out of my way to make one. I kind of respond. And so I realize, oh, a week has gone by. I've gained about 20 subscribers in 24 hours. Let me put something out, because there's almost like, it's kind of, you read the signals. And so if new people come in, well, I mean, of course, they have a few videos now to catch up because they just discovered me. But I figured it was a week, time to do something. So you all take care of yourselves, and I join as many live chats as I can, and I enjoy that. So now if you recognize my name and you see me there, greetings. All right, all take care of yourselves. Be well.